there's one album which drummers go weak at the knees at when it's mentioned, and that has to be Spectrum, of course. Now, Spectrum was released 16 days before I was born, and yeah, it's an album I'm sure many of us either watching or listening to will have, listened to countless times. Now, is it true it was recorded over just a couple of days?
Yes.
That's insane. I mean, how well rehearsed was that band to go and do that in such a short amount of time?
We had 2 days rehearsal.
On all those, literally on those arrangements, and that is it.
All of it. Yeah, all of it.
Wow.
We had 2 days rehearsal. Not true. We had 2 days rehearsal on. No, it's not true. We had a day's rehearsal in advance. Because what I did was I took a different road in terms of choosing the personnel. I tried to find, and I was successful, very lucky, in finding a guitar player that would fit the tunes that I wanted him to play on.
Tommy, of course.
And in every case, it was about that.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to use Stanley Clarke, but Stanley was overqualified for what I had in mind. And we did have a rehearsal with Stanley and Larry Young and Jan Hammer, and it didn't work. So that might have, I mean, for me, I walked away with the idea that what I found was there were geniuses at every station, but no one was playing together. Stanley was young. He was the cog in the wheel. I needed to pull him because he gave me more than I needed.
Yeah.
And that experience transferred to me when I went to record with Quincy Jones in California many years later.
Yeah.
On an album by the Brothers Johnson. And I was at A&M Studios, and I wanted to play so much with Q that I just let it all rip. But the problem with that was I was only playing for Bill. I wasn't playing for Q.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I needed in Spectrum was I needed that groove, that feeling. And the how can I put it? I found that a very interesting point that's always made, that I've always heard from many experienced musicians who've been there, is how complicated it is to play simple. And you smile and you do, and you go, okay, there's another one. That's another one of these things that people just say, but it's not true. If you know, I mean, you got your parchment on the wall, Doctor blah blah blah, and you studied. You put your heart and soul into this stuff, and then you turn around, and you have to just lay it down. At again, 2, 3, 4. Can you keep that tempo for a tune? And that might be slow right now, but I mean, it could be a little bit faster. But to be able to do that, you have to live that, man. And the people who live that were so busy working with that kind of tempo that they never did go to school to understand even what key they were playing in. So they couldn't tell you what key that was in. Another reason why I wrote it in B, because I just wanted to see what anyone would do in the key of B, as opposed to B flat. I mean, just to see, and no one even thought about it, those guys that I was thinking about, because Tommy Bolin didn't read. Lee Sklar only read changes. Jan read, but Jan never had to look at anything unless he read, he played violin, everything. But it was all about the music and how we related together. And forget the technical facility thing, All of a sudden, wow, what do we have? We have a hit because we're doing what all all of us do as grunts in the music business. We do what we know. We play who we are. We play where we came from, and what may appear to be mistakes that we make is actually an inkling and a crack in the door to the future of where we want to go. That's it. If you can't do that, it ain't gonna happen. It's gonna happen only to a certain point and you're gonna want to replay it and replay it and replay it and replay it until you end up taking the first take. It's always the same.
Do you know, I don't really write questions down. I write bullet points, and I've just got. I'm reading it off here now, and it just says Tommy Bolin inspired, and that's all I've written by it.
Yeah, it's just like Tom Sklar. I started with Stanley, and I ended up with Sklar. And the way I ended up with Sklar is that we were both in the same management firm, and he was coming up in the elevator, and I was going down in it. So when he opened the door, I said, "Hey, Lee, how you doing?" He said, "Oh, man, I'm fine." I said, "Are you going to be up here for a little while?" I said, "Yeah, I'll be around." I said, "One question." I hold it in the door. I said, "You free? I'm going to go and do some recording tomorrow night at Jimi Hendrix's. You want to come on down?" He said, "Okay." And then I told him the following night.
And that's as simple as that.
Yeah. He said, "Yeah, it makes sense." Sklar always says it's the fastest recording session he ever had. But it was in his wheelhouse. It was what he did.
Yeah.
Very clean. It was right there. So for him, we did 3 tunes with him, right on the money, man. Never had a problem. We had a ball. Went and had a hamburger afterwards. It was no problem.
It's just hard to imagine these days, I mean, 2 or 3 days is no time at all, is it? Really, 2 days, whatever.
Can you imagine? This is a week, a total week, right? So we go. Let's say we started Monday. We recorded, got levels. It's at Hendrix's. We recorded, then got those tracks. Brought in Ron Carter and Joe Farrell and Jimmy Owens with Jan and me and that. Oh, and John Tropez. I think Ray Barretto may have played congas on something. We did that on Lily and To the Women in My Life. Okay, done. So that's Monday, Tuesday, around midday Wednesday. We made rough mixes. On Thursday, we were on a flight to, of all places, London to mix the record at I can't where Mahavishnu used to. We recorded both the Birds of Fire. Recorded the Birds of Fire album there. We started the Lost Tapes, as they call it, the third album there, and that was in can't remember the name of it now. With Ken Scott, but I did all of that with Ken. We did that. I was home. So let's say I left on a Thursday. We finished mixing on the Sunday. I was home on the Monday. The record's done. We mastered in New York on the Tuesday.
Can you imagine that these days? Just you know how long things take. Everything takes longer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Understand? When I did the Crosswinds album, was it the Crosswinds album? I'm pretty sure it was. Steely Dan, was it Asia? Something like that, back mid-70s?
Yeah, sounds about right.
I heard that record cost $700 and something thousand bucks to make.
Yeah.
And they shrunk wrapped that record 3 times because the band couldn't agree on all the tracks. That they heard flaws in it, and I was just shaking my head, going, "Man, that's a story right there." But it was the nature of the business. Those guys didn't pay that money. It was all a write-off for Blue Thumb Records or ABC or something. And I'm going, and my first album cost me $22,000 to make, including the flights back and forth and everything.
Just amazing and amazing to hear this from yourself as well. You don't hear enough about it from what I've heard.
No, but here's the origins. I mean, you get around people like Quincy or or Miles. Miles is great at managing. You know, he knew who to choose to fit what.
Mm.
Call it luck or whatever, but if he was just blessed, amazing. He could even, when he was sick, I remember reading in Herbie Hancock's book, he called Herbie because he knew Herbie could do the job and fill in for him properly, and everybody would be happy. Herbie had a hit record, but not only that, even if he didn't have one, he'd made such a name for himself, and his personality was so strong. There was never a problem about that. And that made it such an honor for me to be associated with someone like Miles Davis, to the point where I had no problems in going to Ron Carter or any of the other people who were associated with Miles, because I knew what I was getting, you know, which was only the best at the level in which they performed. I can't get any better than that, you know.